Unfortunately, a lot of the times we witness a beautiful sunset where the colours are popping, or head to a waterfall where those greens are looking lush. We take a photo, and we get back, and the image just looks bleh. And that's because your camera is purposely underexposing and desaturating your image so you can create your own style in the editing suite. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jaden Bevel. I'm a photographer and videographer from Melbourne, Australia. And today, using a quick few tools, I'm going to show you how to turn your photos from this to this. As I said, one of the things I love to do is listen to music, especially when I edit. I get into that vibe and just the flow of things. So usually I like to listen to something pretty chilled, something like a bit of techno, bit of deep house, something pretty good. So we're going to choose a song now. Let's see what we got. Next one. Okay, this is a really good song. Put a little volume up. All right, sweet. So let's get into it. Okay, so we got our image here, and the first thing I always like to do is come up and adjust the minor details, just a basic correction. So whether that is adjusting the temperature, just making it nice in the middle there. You can also adjust the tint. Mine's already at +6, so I'm going to keep it there. Then coming down to the highlights, we're just going to pump that up just a little bit, and then drop the shadows just a tiny bit. Pump up the whites a little bit for the waterfall, and drop the blacks just a tad like that. Then coming into the curves here, so I always like to create a bit of an S curve. It's just a really good way just to get those really nice smooth tones. So if you get that kick on that S curve, you're gonna get those really nice faded tones. And I mean, that's what everyone loves. Everyone always comments, sick tones, amazing tones. Everyone goes on about the tones, and that's because tones are what make your photo. And this is exactly where you're going to make your photo pop just that extra little bit. So I like to come down and bring this point down just a tad, making it a little bit darker. And then I'll bring up the last tone, and you can see that really nice fade come in there. And then I'll do this at the top as well, which will adjust the highlights. Like so, there we go. Coming down here to the color panels, this is my favorite place to play around with in Lightroom. I always love playing around with the colors, whether it's just like sliding along here and testing out stuff. I mean, you can't see any difference there, but if I come down to the green tab, you can definitely see those greens sliding and changing colors. But this is probably the best part about Lightroom in terms of manipulating your photo. This is where your look is really achieved through your colors. For me personally, I kind of like to go with a moody, warmish green. And by doing that, first things first, I always like to just pump up the oranges just a little bit. And just bring that up a little bit. And then when it comes to the yellows, I definitely make my yellows more orange. I mean, I know it's very hard to see right now, but it will come back in the final image. If we just go a bit of a before and after real quick, this is before and this is after. So already a huge difference there. We've got those moody tones looking really, really fresh. Next, as I said, the greens. So you can either bring them up, make them really warm, or make them extremely green. Personally, I've seen a lot of photographers use this really green look, and it can work if you mute all the greens there. It looks kind of moody, very similar to Valdez's sort of vibe. He's a really cool photographer. You should definitely check him out. Me personally, I like to kind of stick it in the middle. I guess I'll bring that saturation back up just for now. Maybe put it to the yellow side just a little bit, and then I'll bring those saturation down a little bit as well, but I'll keep it just enough so you can see those greens. And then I'll bring up the luminance as well, so those green highlights really, really pop. All right, for the next thing, leave aqua. There's not a lot of aqua in this photo. The blue, that's probably mainly in the water of the waterfall, so I'll just slightly adjust that to the teal. Bring down the saturation just a tad, and yeah, play around with the luminance, and yeah, probably get it to about there. I'm liking that a little bit. The purple, I don't really think there's any purple in this photo. You can just play around with it and slide them along. Same with magenta, there's really not much in here. When it comes to split toning, I personally like to go for a bluish sort of highlight and orange shadows, just because you can get that really moody, warm sort of feel to the image. So best trick here to do is click Alt and then drag the slider across, can't speak, which will show what on the image is being affected. So I'm going to slide that up to here and then bring these highlights just like ever so slightly up. And then with the shadows, I'll go around to here. Maybe that's looking pretty good, it's looking pretty orange. And then I'll bring the saturation up just a tad. And then when it comes to the balance, I usually like to push the balance more towards the highlights, which makes it that bluey effect. So quick before and after, huge difference. Looking real nice so far. You can add a bit of sharpening to the image if you want, add a bit of noise reduction. I don't really play around with too much of that stuff. And it comes down to collaboration. Color collaboration, you can play around with a lot. You can really get those like sand color sort of look with the blue primary, but definitely do not overuse that. If you're a beginner, I see beginners always overusing the blue primary filter, and I use that all the time when I was starting out, make it get that Sam Calder effect. But to be honest, I pump it up to maybe like -10 at most, and I'll leave everything, maybe just shift that across a tad. But otherwise, yeah, so our image is looking pretty good at the moment. Looking really, really moody. That's before, that is after. So obviously a massive shift in colors there. Next up, I come over to the gradient tool. And what I like to do is just drag a nice gradient across the bottom, put down the exposure, and already that is looking really nice. And then maybe sometimes for this image, because you got that nice little gap above the waterfall, I'll just get the radial filter there, just put a little bit of a radial filter, chuck it on top of the waterfall, invert the selection, and then just pump up the exposure just a tad. I don't even know if that's looking good. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. And yeah, I'm pretty stoked with that. So what I'll do now is just crop it for an Instagram 4x5, simple as that. And my Mac is running out, so that's shit. Give me one sec. All right, we're back. Yeah, so I'll just crop that real quick and maybe just drag that up just a tad more. Get Connor in the center there. And there we go, before, after, done, simple as that. So my next image, this one right here, is a beach shot I took back in around October last year as well. Straight away you can probably see it's not the best top-down photo. I didn't really angle this properly. I kind of just clicked the shutter on the drone real quick and snapped up what we got. So we can actually take a photo looking like this and try and make it a little bit better, and crop it for Instagram and see how we can work around this and make it a cool photo. So straight away I can already tell with the cropping, I want to make it a 4x5 for Instagram. And I'm going to come over here. I like this patch of wave right here, but I'm going to make it straight. So there's a real nice shore break there. I'm just going to tilt that right around. Perfect. Just click done. And there already, it's kind of looking better. I haven't done any color adjustments to it at all, but already with that crop, it's looking real nice. So we're going to come into the basic correction tool again and just play around with these just to correct the image a little bit, bring down the highlights a little bit, bring down the shadows as well. Okay, so with the highlights, I'm going to bring these up just a tad. And then with the shadows, I'm also trying to think, I'm actually going to bring these up just for now. Might come back and bring those down again. Leave texture and clarity and everything like that. Come down to the tone curve. And as exactly what we've done the last few photos, make 3 dots, drag the first dot down a little bit, bring up the last dot, and same with the top ones, bring it up again, and then bring this across. So already you can tell the before and after. I've just pumped a little bit of colors into here. Also what I forgot as well is to adjust the saturation and vibrance. So I'm going to bring down the saturation and just bring up the vibrance a little bit. And we'll go before and after again, before, after. So just adding that extra punch to the photo there. Coming down to the HSL color tab again, and we're going to adjust these colors to see how we want it to look in the photo. First of all, with the oranges, the sand, I'm probably going to bring it up to just around here. I'm going to drop the saturation just a tad, and then bring up the luminance quite a bit, and already that is looking really, really nice. Same thing with the yellows, bring it across to the oranges, bring down the saturation, and just bring up the luminance. The greens, not too much greens in here, so I'm just going to leave it in the middle. The aquas are definitely going to shift the water here, so it's going to either make it really greeny or really grey bluish. Personally, I like to put my aquas more towards the bluey greyish side. People like to put them towards the aqua, but I like to put them over here and drop the saturation just a tad and leave the luminance how it is. Then coming around to the blues, as I said before, you can either go a really teal look, which to be honest just doesn't look good. I'm not sure why too many people use that, or bring it up, and this one makes it a bit more purple, so I'm just going to leave it directly in the middle because it's looking really nice. Bring down the saturation just a little bit to make it real moody, and then just adjust the luminance as well. Coming to the purples, not much purple in this photo. I'm just going to bring it to the left. Personally, I always like to bring my purples to the left because even if there are the slightest bit of purples in there, if you bring it to the left, you're going to make your image more bluey and less purple, and blue always looks better than purple. Magenta will leave, and again with the highlights, we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to bring up our highlights to a bluey tone and bring up that just a tad, and then the shadows, just make it nice and orangey red. Bring those up again, and then the balance, we'll just move it just a tad across. So quick before and after. Before and after. So I've taken a lot of the colors away just to make it a bit moodier, and we're going to bring them back in a second once I play around with the gradient filters, or whatever you call them. So sharpening, doesn't really need too much sharpening. Come down to collaboration, we can skip the other steps. Probably going to leave that there as well. So you can already tell, as I said, it's looking pretty grey and desaturated at the moment. That does make a really moody image, but we're going to increase this mood a lot more by coming over to the gradient filter, dragging up on this sand here, and just bringing down that exposure. And then already that is looking really, really nice. And then the same thing with the top there. We're going to bring down a gradient filter here, and we're also going to bring the exposure down a little bit, and then we're going to put the temperature more towards the bluey side of things. Maybe put the saturation up just a tad, and you can also play around with the hue just to get that bluey feel in the water. So there you go, that's pretty much done. So I'll show you a quick before and after. So that makes it a lot moodier. I mean, it takes a lot of that aqua color out. I mean, a lot of people do like that aqua color. I guess it really depends on what sort of photo you're going for. Me personally, I always like to put a bit of mood into mine. So we're gonna leave it like that. I think that's looking pretty good. So when I export these photos, I export them in a 4x5 for Instagram crop, and then I'll airdrop these straight to my phone and upload them to Instagram. I do use this app called Preview, I think it's called Preview, just to check out my feed and just to try and make sure it's as consistent as possible. And yeah, there you go. So those are my tips on how to get moody edits for your Instagram photos. I hope this helped. Definitely more tutorials coming in the future. Once we're out of lockdown, there'll be a whole lot more videos coming as well. Personally, I do like to stray away from the tutorials and like to just do more of the behind the scenes stuff, but there's not much we can do in lockdown, so kind of just making the most of a bad situation. But as I said, I hope this helped in helping you edit your moody photos like mine. Definitely tag me in your photos. I'd love to see what you guys come up with these edits. And yeah, anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.